We have formed a quorum, and I would like to thank you for attending the meeting. This is a panel on Home Affairs and panel on Development Joint Committee to monitor the implementation of the WKCD project. We do not have a very full agenda today, so we will have enough time for you to speak. Agenda item number 1, matters arising. Before the meeting, a paper has been submitted to members. It's CB 2/1539/12 to 13(01), and that's the table there for members' reference. Do members have any questions concerning the table? If not, let's move on to agenda item number 2. We would like to welcome the government officials and members of the WKCDA to attend the meeting. We have Mr. Wang Man Leung, Project Manager from Home Affairs Bureau, from Transport Department, Mr. Michael Leung, and from WKCDA, Dr. Chen Man Wai, Executive Director, Project Delivery, and Mr. Ng Ying Chun, Head Technical Services. Good morning. Welcome. Agenda item number 2. Integration and connectivity of the WKCD with its neighbouring districts. Please look at paper CB 2/1539/12 to 13(02). So the government will take us through the PowerPoint presentation first. Who would like to take us through that? Thank you, Chairman. At the previous joint committee meetings, we have already briefed members on the development plan of the WKCD, and members have been very concerned about the integration and connectivity of the WKCD with its neighbouring districts. Accessibility and connectivity are two key planning and design principles of the WKCD. Connectivity of the WKCD will be enhanced by providing new footbridge linkages and convenient transport services within and outside the district, so that WKCD can integrate with the neighbouring areas and connect with other parts of Hong Kong and beyond. With the progress of the WKCD project, the WKCDA has been attending Yau Chi Mong DC meetings as well as district forums. So with regard to the integration and connectivity of the WKCD, WKCDA has been conducted a number of consultations. Now I would like to invite Dr. Chairman Wai, Executive Director of WKCDA, to brief members on the latest development. I would like to briefly talk about the integration and connectivity of the WKCD with its neighbouring districts. And I will talk about 3 areas. First, pedestrian connections to neighbouring developments. And second, road-based traffic. Third, other highway improvement schemes under implementation. First of all, about the pedestrian connections to neighbouring developments. I will briefly report on this. Now you can see a map here. This is the at-grade underground and footbridge pedestrian connections to WKCD. If you look at it from the east side, that is near Austin Road and Canton Road, we have underground connections, and we also have footbridge connections. And we also have a landscape deck connection. It is connected to the Austin Station. Also, there is a footbridge connecting to Kowloon Park and a connection to China Ferry Terminal. And also underground, we have other connections. In the middle, that is near the West Kowloon Terminus, there is an at-grade connection. In the west, near ICC, there is a bridge connection. And in the future, there will be 2 footbridges connecting elements. This is the pedestrian connection. And then let us look at the existing bus routes. And you can see that there are several terminals in the surrounding areas. Now, near the West Kowloon terminus, there will be a bus terminals, and also at the Central Ferry Terminal Bridge, there is a bus terminal. This is the existing situation, and in the future we will be adding more bus routes. And how is WKCD connected to its adjacent areas? Now, next to it is the West Kowloon terminus. To the east, there is Austin Station, and also WKCD is adjacent to Kowloon Station. So when you look at our development, it's a vertical mixed development. For Foster's design, all the vehicular routes will be underground. So if you look at this cross section, you can see that this is a mixed design. Traffic is mainly kept below ground. So at grade, there is no traffic. It's mainly a place for people. So vehicles are all kept underground. So when you look at the whole design, this is the B1 level plan. And we have adopted an integrated concept. The public roads, drop-off and public concourse, loading and unloading areas are all here. This diagram shows us the underground roads, and it will roughly look like that in the future. Let us look at the road-based traffic now. Now, if you want to drive to WKCD, as I said just now, there is an underground road leading to WKCD, and at grade near Austin Road, there are some lay-bys. So most of the traffic will be kept underground. As for the access, it will be at Canton Road, Linchuan Road, and Archeong Road. So there will be ingresses here. Some of the ingresses will be underground, and they would lead directly to the underground road system. And how about car park? We have a big car park underground, and we hope that it will be connected to the XRL underground car park. As for other highway improvement schemes, there will be a construction of an at-grade single-lane carriageway as a sleep road connecting West Kowloon Highway southbound to Archeong Road, and we will also construct an elevated single-lane carriageway connecting the elevated Archeong Road to the Western Harbour Crossing Toll Plaza area. And there will be an elevated single-lane carriageway connecting Hoi Po Road to West Kowloon Highway northbound. And we will realign a section of Linchuan Road northbound and a section of Hoi Fai Road. And we will carry road junction improvement works at a junction of Canton Road, Austin Road, and Austin Road West, a junction of Canton Road and Hui Chang Road, as well as a junction of Canton Road, Jordan Road, and Ferry Street. So all these are under construction, and Highway Department has been helping us. So this is roughly what the situation is like. Thank you, Chairman. Members can ask questions now. Each member is given 4 minutes, including questions and answers. Please raise your hands, members.
First round, Priscilla Leung, Yip Kwok Him, Tony Chair, Emily Lau. Priscilla Leung, please. Priscilla Leung, Chairman, thank you. I'm very happy to learn from the paper today that for the Austin Road, the pedestrian corridors will all lead all the way to WKCD. This is what we have been proposing for several years in terms of the accessibility of WKCD, and this is the first breakthrough. However, the paper doesn't mention anything within the WKCD or those spots in the inner area. For example, Cheung Sa Wan. Those may be remote locations, but we have hoped that these inner areas could help WKCD be included in the community. If they're made more accessible from these spots, it would be best, because it would be very important for residents living nearby. This project involves astronomical sums of money. So how can we improve the connectivity? For example, Sham Shui Po and Cheung Sa Wan, if the promenade is completed in the future, these places will be connected. So any consideration on extending the roads, and also what about cycle tracks? Thank you, Dr. Leung, for your comments. Now, about integrating with older districts in the areas, I will work with the Transport Department and see how things can improve. For example, whether a very convenient link can be provided along the waterfront promenade, but there are existing facilities, for example, like Kai Tak cruise terminal, and these matters will have to be resolved, and we'll follow up on these suggestions. And who would like to supplement about cycle tracks? We are following up on this issue, and definitely this district will be provided with cycle tracks, and we'll have a pilot scheme on the use of bicycles within the district. Chairman, I just want to make this point. In 2008, we talked about connection with the Austin road station, and that was eventually done. In Sham Shui Po, I hope the Transport Department or you could pay a visit there. We invited you to pay a visit there. I hope that it will be a path lined up by trees. There will be connection from the district to, say, Cheung Sa Wan market. I don't want to see just a abstract design. I hope that if time is given, your expert can come up with a good design. Next, Mr. Yip Kwok Him. Now, about WKCD. It is important to consider how it can be linked with the surrounding area. WKCD is very important. It's very unique. It's connected to the waterfront. As for other areas, how can they be made more convenient for accessing WKCD? Well, we talked about the car park, etc. Well, you talk about car park entrance, and that may be for vehicles. What about pedestrians? Will there be hotels and buildings in the surrounding area that can provide a pedestrian link to the district, so that you have multi-point entry instead of just one single corridor? And that's the first question I'd like to know. Secondly, in the past, the blueprint was that for West Sea's area from Sishu Center and the Bamboo Theater to the other side is very far away. And in the past, that we talked about the design of a monorail or a tram. I don't know whether this idea still exists. If not, will a comfortable footpath be provided for pedestrians in that area for their enjoyment? In summer, that spot would be quite difficult to put up with, walking from one end to the other end. Third point, according to your plan, will there be any change to the parking spaces? In the past, there were figures about an underground car park. What about your proposal today? Do you have any information to provide? 3 questions. Thank you, Mr. Yip, for your question. Thank you, Chairman. About the pedestrian link, this will be enhanced in the future. At present, the WKCD's entrance is one coming from Canton Road, and then this will link up all the 3 major stations. In the future, there will be more comprehensive measures. For example, the Transport Department is considering whether the Jordan MTR station can be linked to the pedestrian corridor directly. And also for Kowloon Park, there will be connecting points as well. At present, there is a footbridge from Kowloon Park to the terminal building, and there will be a new link between the district and Kowloon Park, so that for Tsim Sha Tsui, it would be more convenient to go from there to WKCD. As for other support measures in the surrounding areas, I'll defer to my colleague. As seen very clearly in this diagram, there are pedestrian links at grade, and also there are subways for pedestrians. This side is for an environmental friendly transit system. We are considering, for example, environmental friendly buses and also pedestrian walkways, and this will be a connection between the east and the west. So when will you have a reply? We need to complete this within this year or next, because by completion, by 2015-16, the major buildings will be completed. What about number of parking spaces? About 2,100 odd. Any change from the previous proposal? No. Mr. Tony Chair. Now, about integrating WKCD into the community, in terms of design and etc., I'm very happy to see the focused effort of the WKCD authority. And for connection, there are 3 points. For example, the link above grade, including footbridges, for example, and about the design of footbridges, I can see that in the drawing. I hope this can show the design of WKCD. We need to rely on our professionals. Now, in Hong Kong, we have very few footbridges with proper or good or unique design, as well as fulfilling the functions at the same time. So I hope the WKCD authority can make an extra effort in this regard. About pedestrian subway, I hope consideration can be given to the design, because there are young artists in Hong Kong. Many of them are not very famous. They have limited resources. I hope that space could be provided for them to showcase their work. This won't cost much. I hope the design will be different from other subways, which focus on providing space for advertisements and making profit. I hope something could be done to the design so that other factors like fire safety, connectivity will be considered in its design. For example, you can be more innovative in your design so that you won't regret in the future. Now, about goods vehicles, I understand the loading and unloading area would be in the basement. This is important from the perspective of management, because we often see transport interchanges. If it's located somewhere which is covered, there are problems like ventilation and also the utilization rate. And I'm also concerned about utilization. You talked about environmental friendly buses. Now, what about private cars and lorries? I'd like to hear a response from either the administration or the authority. Thank you, Mr. Chair, for your comment. About footbridges, basically, these are government public works, but since they will be connected to the WKCD, we will also revise the design so that these footbridges will tie in with the design of WKCD. They won't be just like ordinary public works projects. As for whether space could be provided in the pedestrian subways for young artists to showcase their work, the situation is more complex. About the footbridges and subways leading to the WKCD, our preliminary idea is that the management will be taken up by the WKCD authority, because this will provide better management and the standard will be more consistent. As for whether it will be more, say, more room can be provided in designing the subways. Well, for ordinary subways, basically the cleaning and the management will be taken up by, for example, FEHD or other government departments. But under our arrangement, if the WKCD authority is responsible for management, then there may be room to have some adjustments, and we will look into this issue. As for traffic management or traffic control underground, of course, traffic control is taken up by either the transport department and the police. As for lighting and air ventilation, we will introduce an appropriate system so that all standards will be complied with. Anything to supplement, Dr. Chen? Well, Dr. Chair made a very good point about the loading and unloading area is situated in the basement floor, and ventilation is therefore very important. We also have an environmental impact assessment to look at air ventilation issues. If we use environmental friendly buses or trams, I mean, that's a situation at grade, but we also think about environmental protection underground. We look at the lighting and the air ventilation in the design, and at the detailed design stage, we will incorporate all these factors. What about green buses?
Originally, we were thinking about introducing a tram system, that is electrical tram, and before realizing that plan, we will be use travelators so that it's easier for the pedestrians to go from east to west. So any supplement from the Transport Department? No, Ms. Emily Lau. Thank you, Chairman. Well, I agree with the views of some other members. For example, green shuttle buses and travelators. Now, at Tsim Sha Tsui Station, you're already using travelators because WKCD is of a huge area, so travelators will be very useful. Of course, there should also be pedestrian walkways if pedestrians want to walk. So if you want to walk from Sichi Center to the MPV, if you walk, how long does it take? And how about barrier-free access? I think you should attach importance to it because for those with mobile problems, you should ensure that they can make use of travelators and other facilities. So there should also be cycling tracks, and cycling tracks should be separated from pedestrian trails. Also, for the loading and unloading areas, you should also design it better because now lorries just load and unload on roadsides, and that would cause a lot of inconvenience. Now, Chairman, when I look at paragraph 12, it is said that the WKCDA has constantly consulted and solicited comments from the from the Yaw Chim Mong District Council. Now, you know about district councils, and now Tuen Mun District Council is criticizing severely the government. Well, this is a major project. I'm sure the district council would have a lot of views. Otherwise, in the future, if there are problems, you will be inviting criticisms from the district council. So under paragraph 12, you have listed 7 points, and you have consulted the Yaw Chim Mong District Council for many rounds. So have you accepted all their comments? And also, well, they have consulted the district council, and they have also consulted district leaders and community residents. So you are talking about 2 parties. So, of course, I don't think you should just consult the district council because that would be too narrow a scope. And the district council has its responsibility to consult its residents as well. So can you tell us that you have already incorporated the views of the district into your present proposal? Mr. Wen? Yes, we understand that. We hope that we can have a better design so as to cope with the needs of different people. For example, barrier-free access is also a very important principle of design, and we will adhere very closely to this principle. As for the authority and its consultation with the district, maybe Dr. Chen can supplement. Yes, of course, we would try our best to communicate with the residents of the districts, and mainly we have been communicating with the district council, and we have incorporated many of their views into our present design. Transport Department has also attended such meetings. Here you are talking about district forum, community leaders, etc. So all those have been incorporated because we don't want to see this in the future. That is, the district council would criticize that you have not incorporated their views. Dr. Chen? Yes, we have already heard all their views, and we've talked to our consultant teams, and now many of their proposals are incorporated into our present plan. Now, on the 8th of April, they had a meeting, and the relevant paper is now tabled. Yes, Ms. Lau is right. I think you should have regular meetings with the district council, and you should consult the community leaders on a regular basis. Or maybe you can give us a timetable so at least we would know how many times you would meet with them each year. Can you give us your planning? Well, Chairman, I agree with you. we have given district councils certain responsibilities. Now, DCs would have to consult their residents, and you have to consult the DCs. Now, of course, there may still be loopholes. However, you should try your best to do this. Now, you should consult the DC, and they would give you views, and whether those views are well received by you, you have to tell us and the public. Now, because this is a mega project, I think there will be a lot of hiccups. Mr. Yu, now when I look at the map and the bus terminal, now you have the WHT buses, and also there is a CFT-PTI. So if you do not have a bus terminal for WKCD, then all the people will have to rely on these two bus terminals I mentioned. And also at grade, there will be travelators and green buses. And I've seen in other places that people would use golf carts. So for an elder, if he or she, after enjoying a show at the City Center, he would like to go to the other parts of the WKCD, if there is a provision of golf carts, I think it would be very convenient for the elders. Transport Department. I'd like to thank the member for his questions. The Transport Department has been very concerned about the connections of the WKCD to the surrounding areas, including pedestrians and vehicles. We understand that there are already 2 railway stations nearby, that is Austin MTR station and Kowloon MTR stations. And also there are 2 public transport interchanges. We understand that WKCDA will map out a blueprint for public transport, and Transport Department will be liaising very closely with the WKCDA concerning bus routes. So you have not answered the question. When will you do this? The member asked you just now, if you are at China Ferry Terminal, how do you get to the WKCD? Just now, Dr. Chen has talked about this. That is, there will be a very convenient pedestrian connections connecting CFT and the WKCD. Well, it will be very convenient for pedestrians to go in and out of the WKCD. Well, can you and the WKCD give us a detailed plan? Now, from China Ferry Terminal, if you walk from it to the WKCD, how long will it take? Because it's quite a long way. Well, our members are very familiar with these places. I am the only one that's not too clear about the area. So you cannot just brush the question away. So you have to tell us how WKCD is connected to its surrounding areas. Give us the details. For example, taking public transport, taking taxis, walking, etc. Chairman, I agree with you. Because for CFT now is very narrow, and if all the visitors of WKCD have to go to CFT for public transport, then I'm sure CFT will be overcrowded. And how about golf carts? I don't think you can give me an answer now because you don't even have a plan. So please give us the answers in the future. Now, it's not that close, although it looks close on the map. I remember I used to run from CFT to Jordan Ferry Pier, and it's really far away. How about golf carts? Well, we will consider point-to-point transports, because there will be connections between the East and the West. So we will look at it in greater details in the future. Now, Dr. Chen, please talk to the Transport Department. And when can you give us a complete plan for the connections and traffic of WKCD? I think members are more concerned about the environmental protection measures inside WKCD. Just now, members asked if green golf carts will be used. And also, Ms. Emily Lau mentioned just now that if you walk from City Center to the MPV, it's quite a long way. If you walk leisurely, it will take you half an hour. I don't think people would like to do that. That is walking from this point to that point. So connections are very important. Now, we attach a lot of importance to environmental protection. So maybe there should be a large-scale underground car park, and people can drive to WKCD. Now, if they want to drive to WKCD for watching Sichu, actually when they leave together after the show, there will be traffic jam. So can you make use of the underground car parks of the West Kowloon terminus and the Kowloon MTR station? And then people can park their cars there, and then they can take golf carts or green shuttle buses to the WKCD. As for the detailed arrangements, yes, I understand that WKCD is of an elongated shape, and if you want to go from the east to west, it will take a very long time. Although the paths may be tree shaded, but still it might be quite demanding for you to walk that distance. So members suggested just now that maybe green shuttle buses should be used to connect all the points in the WKCD. For example, of the frequency of such buses should be allowed should be of several minutes, so that people can take these buses to different points. So it's like in a theme park. The internal connection should be done better. This is very important. And the WKCD is close to 3 railway stations. It has its advantages. As for its own car park, it also has the effect of synergy. Because for WKCD, other than arts and cultural facilities, there are also shopping areas, offices, and residential areas. So for these different facilities, they may have different demand for car parking. For example, in the daytime, the office users would need to use the car parks, and at night time, people will be off work, and the car park can be used by facility users going to WKCD. And we can also consider making use of the existing large-scale car parks in the surrounding areas. And at Great, you will be having cycling tracks, right? Yes, this question has just been answered. They will have that. And when people finish a show, and what will happen to the audience? Now, if you have several major performance venues finishing their shows at the same time, then the audience would leave WKCD at the same time. So have you considered this problem concerning crowd control? Well, our transport consultant has also looked at this, because this is very important. We have calculated as to how much time people would need when they want to leave WKCD after a show.
So that according to the design, people can leave WKCD in a short period of time after the show is over, about 30 minutes. Now, about the my question is, will they take the existing facilities when they leave, or will you just drive them out of the district and that will be it? What about connectivity or any connecting transport to the new territories and other areas? We can think about that. Yes, please come back and report to us because it will be disastrous if you don't do anything to provide more facilities and if something goes wrong in the future. Mr. Eleanor, now the crux of the issue is the connection between WKCD and the old districts. It's important for the old districts in the vicinity to embrace this new design. This will help their development, and this will also become the extension of all the districts. Well, you can either call it an extension of WKCD into all the districts or vice versa. About the paper submitted today, well, you're not thinking out of the box. If you want to access the 43-hectare WKCD, either we will provide subways and footbridges, nothing else. What about the connectivity with existing communities? I think that it is limited, and I don't see how this design can show the connection. For example, for W Hotel and private residential developments nearby and Ritz-Carlton Hotel, well, if you walk from these buildings to WKCD, it's a very comfortable link and sheltered link. So I hope you can also consider this point at the macro level. And just now, Mr. Wan said that the management of footbridges and subways will be taken up by the WKCD authority. This is a very good idea. Recently, we've seen street artists being treated as hawkers, and they have been accused of obstructing public places. So it is a good idea that WKCD authority manages these locations. So has the authority accepted this idea? The other question is, during the preliminary design stage of WKCD, there was a proposal about water taxis along the waterfront promenade for traveling to the Hong Kong island. I don't see anything here in the paper. Have you given up this idea? Oh, in the West End of London or Broadway in New York, there are areas like off Broadway and off West End. Well, last time the WKCD authority came and explained to us that more space would be reserved for cheaper accommodation of staff quarters. In fact, for the cattle depot in Sham Shui Po and Cheung Sha Wan, you see old buildings that have been converted for this purpose. So have you thought about this idea in terms of transport measures that is off WKCD? It is a challenge for the district to be integrated into the older districts, for example, in terms of transport. More might have to be done in terms of software. Our preliminary idea is that For footbridges and subways, the management will be taken up by the WKCD authority. The WKCD is an unprecedented project. It covers such a vast area. Traditional model of management might not yield good result. As explained before, we might adopt the approach of railway development strategy. For example, property projects along the railway will be managed by the railway company. And we think this is the better approach. But of course, we need to consider the details. For example, liaison with government departments. For example, they need to communicate fully with the FVHT on refuse collection. This is originally the government department's function, and if now is taken up by the authority, then there are financial implications and other issues. Now, about water transport, as the WKCD is situated along the waterfront, we can explore the feasibility of providing water sea transport, and we have discussed with the Transport Department on this feasibility. As for we need to explore further about water or sea transport. We very much look forward to it, because for public pier, you might need to discuss with the Transport Department and gauge the demand first. However, maybe you can expeditiously roll out a pilot scheme. For example, you can provide some landing steps. It doesn't affect the harbor it's not subject to the harbor protection ordinance, and something can be done to provide transport via the sea. For example, you can try to provide landing steps to allow boats to arrive at the spot. Now, there are landing steps here in the drawing, and we can see if vessels can or boats can reach the spot, and we can have a couple more here. Then we will gauge demand and see what should be our way forward. Yes, please explore this issue. We had discussed with your CEO in previous meetings. It's not a means of transport as such, just like the Venetian Hotel. If you have this facility, then someone will use the facility. So please consider this proposal. It's adding value to the Victoria Harbour as well as WKCD. Smaller ferries or boats can be used for plying along the waterfront. If you ask Frankie Yik, he can give you advice. I'm not talking about another Star Ferry pier. I'll read out the names of members for the first round. Sari Lee, Helena Wong, the other members. Sari Lee, please. Chairman. As with other members, I'm also concerned about the connectivity and the dispersion arrangement after the show is over. Now, the Austin Station and West Kowloon Terminus and Jordan MTR Station, if these stations are linked up, I think crowd control underground is the most efficient method. I don't know whether this will be implemented. And the second question is about the green dotted lines on the drawing, which is the link to some commercial properties and hotels. Now, does it mean that in the future, those within the building can go directly to the WKCD via the pedestrian corridors? if that's not the case, that means the number of entry points will be limited and it will be problematic. Third point, it's been heavily criticized by the public at present because of insufficient parking spaces. And if you go there on weekends, you can see a lot of cars illegally parked there. For the 2,100 parking spaces, will they be open for public use, or will many of them be reserved for, say, audience and patrons, etc.? Now, the situation now is that many visitors don't really want to drive their own cars, but there is insufficient public transport, and there are at the same time inadequate parking spaces as well. So about connecting to other properties, well, Ms. Lee talked about the green dots and how the connection can be made with surrounding buildings. There are three parts. We have pedestrian corridors and the link at grade and in the subway and footbridges as well. For ICC, a footbridge will be built to connect the building directly to WKCD. For CFT bridge, there will be pedestrian walkway at grade. What about the proposed hotel? Will convenient access be given to the subway? No, this is at grade. You don't need to build this underground. Of course, we can give an underground subway, but this is the at grade structure, the proposed hotel. So connection can be made at grade. What about connecting with MTR stations? From Austin MTR station, you can see a subway leading directly to Sishu Center. What about Jordan Road? Perhaps a colleague from Transport Department can take this part of the question. Last October, the Transport Department explained to Yau Chin Mong the connectivity between WKCD and the MTR stations in the vicinity. I believe this is in Annex 2. This is the alignment of the subway from Canton Road to Shanghai Street and then all the way to Jordan Station. Now, according to our study, there is a demand for this connection, but the feasibility will also be studied in due course. What about parking spaces? Will they be open fully for public use? According to our calculation, the total number of parking spaces will accommodate the needs of the entire district. Apart from cultural facilities, there will also be residential development as well as office space, and there should be adequate parking spaces for addressing these needs. I'm sorry, so my interpretation is that many parking spaces will be reserved for dedicated or specific users. Please consider whether more spaces should be provided for public. Dr. Helena Wong.
Well, Chairman, I live there. You live in West Kowloon? Yes, I've been living there for over 10 years, but nobody has ever consulted the residents and also for members of OCs. Well, sometimes they might have been consulted. However, you have turned a deaf ear to what they said. Yau Chin Mong DC has never consulted the residents. And for plans like this, you have never mailed them to the residents. We never had information like this. Well, you can always say that we can go online to look at this, but not many people are electoral members. So the residents do not know anything about this. So for Kwun Tong extensions and Sha Tin central lines, you have provided a lot of information to the residents. But for this, you have not done anything concerning residents' consultation. At 11:30 last night, a resident of Sorrento called me. They said that there are 3 major MTR stations surrounding this area. That is the West Kowloon Terminus, Kowloon MTR Station, and Austin MTR Station. They hope that for West Kowloon Terminus and Kowloon MTR stations, they hope that the 2 concourses can be connected underground. But you do not have this plan. And you just have this green dotted line, this so-called pedestrian corridor, and it will be connecting Kowloon MTR Station and West Kowloon Terminus. Over the sign of the elements, there is not enough barrier-free access. Now this is connected to the entrance of the elements near the ice rink, and when you enter there, you see an escalator, and there's no lift. For the XRL terminus, a lot of people will be leaving the terminus with their luggage. And for Kowloon MTR Station, it's the same. And we will be seeing more and more people like this that is carrying their luggage. And if there is no lifts, how can they pull their luggage and then they enter the elements at the ice rink, and then how do they get onto the escalator? For the whole of elements, there is just a small lift near the Broadway Cinema. And there are elders there, and children there with baby trolleys. And also there are wheelchair-bound people and travelers pulling luggages. So if you do not have an underground subway connecting these 2 places, then you should add 1 lift in the elements so that there can be a barrier-free access. And then near Jordan Road, that is towards the west, there's no footbridge. So if you enter the elements from there at grade, it's not even an escalator. Well, this is not something about the WKCD. Maybe the Transport Department officer can answer the questions. As far as I remember, at the XRL terminus and the Kowloon MTR stations, actually there are 3 footbridges connecting these 2 places, and there is also a subway. Yes, this is the map. You can see that between the XRL terminus and the elements, at the shopping mall level, there are 3 footbridges. And also there is a subway connecting the 2 places. So we hope that the XRL terminus and the Kowloon MTR station can be connected. And also for WKCD and its connection with Kowloon MTR station and West Kowloon terminus, Dr. Chen has pointed out that there are a number of footbridges connecting these areas. And you can continue to move northwards through the landscaped deck going to the old districts. And also there is a subway linking WKCD and Jordan. Your time is up. As for the elements and the internal arrangement there, that is for lifts and escalators, maybe you should talk to the relevant party. Ms. Chow? I would like to talk about the elements. Underneath that, there is a bus terminal. And above that, well, now it's very dark. There's no beautification. A lot of residents complain against that. In the future, there will be a lot of footbridges. So will you beautify those areas? Will you make it brighter? I hope you will take this into consideration. And also, for the waterfront promenade, how long is it? Now, is surrounding the whole WKCD area, and how long is that? When will this promenade be completed and open to the public? Maybe Dr. Chen can answer this question. As for the waterfront promenade, it has a length of 2 kilometers. When we look at this map, towards the west end, this part is still open. However, for this part, there are a lot of construction works, and by 2015 to 2016, this area will be open. We hope that the whole promenade will be open as soon as possible. However, for the western part, now it is open. Now, we are talking about the western part, and for the northwestern part is near the typhoon shelter. Now you cannot go through. So will you look at it from a macro point of view? That is, how can this promenade be connected to Sham Shui Po? So the northwestern part, yes, if you continue to walk along this path, you will reach the typhoon shelter. Well, Transport Department. This is about the traffic planning for the harbourfront, and the government is discussing with the relevant harbourfront committee. Well, why is it the business of harbourfront committee? We are talking about the land. We want people to be able to reach Tai Kok Tsui, Sham Shui Po, etc. Well, you should really look into all these details concerning accessibility. Today, you've just talked about the internal arrangement of the WKCD and the railway stations. Well, you should study more. This has nothing to do with the Harbourfront Committee. Oh, you should come up with more facilities. Think about it. Ms. Cheung, can you give me half a minute more? Now, if you use the West Harbour Tunnel, and there's a bridge leading from the bus station there to the Elements. I have done it myself. That is, if you are coming from the Hong Kong Island and then you get off at a bus stop at the tunnel portal, after crossing the bridge, you cannot enter the Elements. You have to go downstairs and then walk for a while before you can enter the shopping mall. Okay, for all these questions concerning the Elements, the ceilings are not bright enough and the footbridge cannot lead directly to the Elements, etc. You should go back to your office and think about all this. Chairman, you have taken half of my minutes. Well, you have overrun your time. Well, Chairman, you have used my time. Well, what you said were irrelevant. We are talking about the traffic arrangements. Why is the Elements related to this? Because we want to convenience the people. I'm the chairman. You speak next time. Ms. Mack? Now, when I look at the pedestrian connections, actually there are many footbridges and subways. Just now, we were told that there would be some barrier-free accesses, but I'm very concerned about the design of such access, in particular the footbridge. Do you have a ramp or do you have a lift? I insist that lifts be installed for footbridges, and the footbridges and the lifts should be big enough to accommodate 2 wheelchairs. Because the lift would not only be used by wheelchair users, people with baby trolleys and also other people will also use the lifts, and people will have to queue up for the lifts. Now, you say that the government has a set of standards. However, I don't think you have looked at the problem from the wheelchair users' point of view. I myself have used wheelchair before, so I think the government standards are not up to par, and the ramps are difficult for the wheelchair users. And I think for the foot bridges, they should all be covered. Well, you think that wheelchair users can make use of the foot bridges, and if these foot bridges do not have covers, then the wheelchair users will find it very difficult to use them during rainy days. So you have to look at the problem from their angles. Yes, thank you, Ms. Mack. Well, for barrier-free access, this is already a standard design or standard facility. So for footbridges, we will not use a ramp now. We will install lifts. And we will, in most of the time, store 2 lifts at the same time, because sometimes we will have to do maintenance to the lifts, so there will always be an alternative lifts. We will be very careful about this sort of design. Yes, I understand. The government officials would adhere to the government standards. But I want you to do things above the government standard, because that standard has never changed. So I hope you can do a better job than that's set out in the government standard. Because this is a new cultural district, and you have new designs, so don't just rely on old standards. There are many footbridges and subways. And don't think a lift would be sufficient. Sometimes you will have to queue up for a long time before you can get into the lift. So don't just follow the government's standards. Your standards should be better than the government standards. Next, Mr. Ip Chi-ming. Thank you, Chairman. I want to make 2 points. There will be a huge basement. Just now it's mentioned that you will conduct EIA. So what will the EIA be measuring? Of course, you will look at carbon dioxide, SO2, particulates. But how about temperature? Well, for many PTIs and subways or tunnels, you won't feel comfortable in these places. The temperature in these places is relatively high. So have you considered this? That is, in the future EIA, there should be an indicator concerning temperature. That is, the temperature at these places should not be higher than the outdoor temperature by 2 to 3 degrees. Because all the people will be using these areas, and this will also be a loading and unloading area. And Hong Kong can be very hot and humid in the summer, so I hope you can really take this point into serious consideration. And some members also asked about this. That is, if you walk from China Ferry Terminal to the park, it's actually a long walk. How many minutes will it take? We do not know yet. Well, in Hong Kong, we have a very good asset. That is, tram is a green mode of transport. If you go to Europe, you can see that trams use the same road surface as pedestrians. Well, Chairman, I am not in the tram business now, but I want to declare this interest anyway. And you can use some classical trams. You do not need air conditioning, and if the trams travel along the harbour front, it will be very comfortable, and I'm sure tourists would love it. I don't understand how come the government and the WKCDA have never thought about this. This is a very good asset of Hong Kong.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Yek, for your comment about the detailed design and the EIA for the PTI underground. Of course, there are serious issues like temperature. And for the details, I'll defer to Dr. Chen. About trams, well, I will consider how these can be follow up. About the temperature underground, I agree very much with Mr. Yik, because that will be an area where passengers get on and off transport, and apart from looking at the air quality, the particulates, etc., we should also look at the temperature. What about ventilation shaft? Well, a space will be reserved along the waterfront for this purpose. About electric vehicles along the waterfront, well, it's just a span of 20 meters or so along the waterfront, so we need to consider that. But if you go to European countries, you can see even in busiest areas in those countries, the road is shared by trams as well as pedestrians. I visited the place before, and people can enjoy the sea breeze and enjoy the scenic views. And when you consider when you consider connecting transport, please consider the transport to be used along the waterfront to add value to the area. Ms. Chen Yunhan. Well, I'd like to take from Dr. Helena Wong's point. I took part in the whole thing. Sharpo Road next to the underground shopping street. Well, it should tie in with the whole area. I worked with the district officer. We visited various places, and this is the fruit of our discussions. And we have seen a number of director of planning assuming office. Now, I am very concerned what Dr. Chen will put there, but Dr. Chen is only thinking about the interests of WKCD authority. What about the transport department? Well, Dr. Wong, I don't know if it is true. If it's true, I'll be very shocked. This area is very closely connected with Yao Chin Mong. And actually, last year, after consulting the local residents, one tower was taken away instead of that should be two, and I really have strong views about that. Second point, I say we shouldn't just believe entirely in what Dr. Chen is saying. You look at the drawing, the area seems very big, but in fact it's not very big. On the one end, you see ICC, and the element on the other end, it's not very far away, and we are going to have the WKCD terminus, and I'm concerned about the connection between stations. Well, I'd like to say this. At that time, when the British troops reached Kowloon and Chapel Street, that was the history. I'd like to tell the Transport Department that it went all the way to Kowloon City, and I took part in the whole process. And it got the support of Wong Tai Sin, this DC, and I recently also said that we have been following up on this issue for a long time. So Transport Department, if you allow Dr. Chen to take charge of the whole project, then you're missing the issues as mentioned by Ms. Alice Mack and Dr. Helena Wong. Mr. Yik talked about air ventilation and air quality. those underground shopping streets in Japan, they're really doing a good job, so you should learn from them. This is such a big project. So point number one, universal access or barrier-free access is important. Point number two, how can you make it more accessible? I agree that it's just a small area underground, so there should be better connectivity. For us who have less than perfect physique, it's a really difficult task for us. Just like going to Seoul, you need to climb stairs and you need to walk all the time. So if you don't provide connection for local residents in the surrounding area, it's unfair. And the previous two terms, or 2 terms before, I also was concerned about this issue. It's important to have barrier-free access. It's a big project for the government. Chairman, this is a big project, and you just let Dr. Chan take charge of the whole project. I'd like to ask the government official to sit down and discuss together. I just can't trust those representatives from the railway company. I don't want to criticize you, Mr. Leung. Sorry, Ms. Chan, 4 minutes, you're up, and please go back to the queue. Yes, second round. Next, Ms. Sit Ho. Thank you, Chairman. I'd like to, I'll give more time for them to respond, and I'd like to give my support to Dr. Ann Chang and Dr. Helena Wong. There are MTR stations and underground shopping streets, and there are ways, and these are the ways to provide connection to WKCD underground. We're actually using the space of shopping malls for connection, so we need seamless transition. Things should tie in smoothly. XRL station, well, as pointed out by some scholars, passengers need to carry their heavy luggage up several floors and then down several floors, and then the administration also mentioned that they expect passengers taking the MTR to WKCD for taking part in cultural activities. So you need to take this into account. There is no projection on pedestrian flow, and now this drawing shows us the pedestrian links, but can you also provide indicators like arrows to show us the flow of pedestrians? For example, for Shu Center and other venues, when an event is going on, can you tell us the frequency of the shuttle bus service, and what will the pedestrian flow or volume be? We need to gauge whether the system can have sufficient capacity. Now, I'm not too concerned about vehicles. The original design for the district is that it's a low emission area with little pollution, so visitors should try their best to use public transport like the MTR. That is why the parking spaces, yes, they should be reserved more for staff and users of the WKC instead of visitors. But what about performance venues? There are large vehicles, and they need to have sufficient space for loading and unloading. And the underground shopping street, I don't see how it can go to the MPV, which is located at the farthest end on the west side. So I don't see any such plan. When you plan for the transport and traffic system, you need to show me how the huge props and backdrops for performances can be transported to the MPV. The concept plan does have an advantage for transportation of backdrops and other props. They can be transported all the way underground and have these escalated to the stage directly. And there is the WHC in between. Basically, it divides the basement of the two buildings, so it has a separate basement. But since it is a major facility, it has all the supporting facilities. What about the flow or the direction of flow of pedestrian and the projection? Dr. Chen, in the transport impact assessment, we have all the calculations about the pedestrian projections and the flow of pedestrians and their direction. We have all the technical details if you want them. Yes, I do want them. We need to know the number of people or vehicles passing by per hour. We have a number of members lining up for the second round. Anyone else? I'll draw a line here, 2 minutes. Questions and answers included. Dr. Helena Wong. Thank you, Chairman. I hope arrangements could be made for members to pay a visit there so that we know how inconvenient it is or whether the connectivity is good or bad. And there should be representatives from the MTRCL as well, so we can all pay a visit there. Second question. I'm going to move a motion in a moment. It will be circulated among members in due course. And I'd like to say something about noise and pollution. Along Archeong Road, there will be a major trunk road for accessing the WKCD, and there will also be viaduct railway lines for XRL, and on top of it there will be residential developments as well. So my question is whether noise barrier will be erected, which will cover entirely the whole area from Sorrento to the other residential development, because if you don't have a noise barrier, the noise level would go beyond 70 decibels. Now we've been struggling for the erection of noise barriers in the other area, and because you did not consult local residents, and the district council also failed to consult local residents either. So even if the construction is completed, you will see a lot of objections. There are multi-story residential buildings there, so definitely you will face a lot of opposition. Thank you, Dr. Wong, for your suggestion. Along Archeong Road, there will be government public works projects as well. There will also be the relevant EIAs and mitigation measures will be introduced according to the EIA requirements if necessary. This is our understanding of the public works along Archeong Road. So can you tell me whether you have fully enclosed noise barriers from Sorrento to the spot at the entrance of the harbour crossing?
President Chang. Thank you, Chairman. I have been receiving messages during the meeting. The residents there are very concerned about this issue. Well, they want to know that there are so many footbridges here, and they wants to know, are these footbridges partially or fully enclosed? And second, and there are many underground roads. So where is the ventilation shaft? Then they also want to know about this from the residential areas of Jordan. If they want to walk towards the park or the MPV, they want to know what the path is like. How many times do they have to go up and down? Answer, please. Well, for the design of the footbridges, we have not done that yet. As to whether it's enclosed or not, there will be detailed design later. As for the ventilation shafts, well, we will have to look at the EIA first. Well, we will try our best not to place them closely to the residential areas. You can see that in the western parts there are several footbridges, and they will be connecting to the elements. And we will look at the final design in great details. We will try our best not to ask people to go up and down many times. We are not challenging your experts, but the residents live there, so they are particularly concerned about the project. So I hope that there will be more exchanges with the residents in the future. Ms. Chan Yuen-han. Chairman, today we are talking about this issue, and we would like to ask all the questions. And we don't want to see the government doing nothing afterwards. Well, we want this place to be accessible to all, including the elders and the persons with disabilities. Now, you must do a good job concerning the at-grade area, and more space should be reserved, because I don't know what the future development will be. Well, you can take reference from the airport design. You can ask Ms. Wong of the Planning Department. Now you have an area of over 40 hectares, so you must think about space. Now, if the at-grade streets can be well designed, then there can be street performance in the future. I hope that the government would follow up on our questions today. I'll give you 1 or 2 months, and then please come back to us and tell what changes have you made to the plan. Many members have expressed their views. So you really have to take our views into consideration. Well, Chairman, you have a big responsibility. You have to ensure that they listen to all of our views. Otherwise, I'm worried that they will just shove the responsibility onto Mr. Chen. So please make sure that they will follow up on what we said. So I think we should ask them to come back to us in due course. Ms. Emily Lau. Chairman, I think members have reached a number of consensus today. And Chairman, you should follow up on this. I think WKCDA and MTRCL should both send their representatives to attend our meeting. Suddenly they just come up with one map or another plan, and it seems that they are not giving us the full picture. I don't think they are doing this deliberately, because this is just because this project is huge. So about connectivity, we are very concerned. So Chairman, maybe you can summarize later. That is what major problems we have discussed today, and which departments should follow up on these issues. And at the next meeting, all the relevant departments should send their representatives to attend And we have been waiting for this project to be realized for over 10 years. We don't want it to become a mess. And if there are problems arising, then they will drag their feet even further. And Chairman, I think the clerk should give them a clear list so that they can give us replies one by one at the next meeting. Yes, understood. Now you are talking to me. Well, it seems that I have to bear all the responsibility. Okay, second round of questions has ended. Now we start the third round, 2 minutes each. Ms. Enchang. Thank you, Chairman. Well, I speak on behalf of the residents. The residents say that, well, for all the road construction works, they are very confused. They do not know whether there are pedestrian links linking the China Ferry Terminal and the Kowloon Park directly. They want you to make it clearer. And also, the residents want to know this. That is, now you are trying to put together a traffic network. And many external walls of the buildings are covered in dust. So after completing the construction works, would you clean the external walls for these buildings? Well, earlier on, Ms. Cheung asked a question about Guanmen and how the residents there can go to WKCD. As for the XRL project, the project actually touches Guanmen, and on the terminus there is a landscape deck, and that landscape deck is connected to Guanmen. So the people living at Guanmen will find it very convenient to use this deck to reach the XRL station. And for the XRL station, between it and the WKCD, there is a big at-grade square. Because for Austin Road West, it will be subsided, and above it there will be a square where pedestrians can walk. And for Kowloon Park, how can it be connected to the WKCD? Just now, Dr. Chen has mentioned this. That is, there will be a footbridge. We will look at the future need and see if we need to build an extra bridge in the future. Well, just now we talked about the CFT. It will be directly connected to the WKCD. So will you clean the external walls of the adjacent buildings? They say that you are generating all that dust, and you should be responsible for cleaning the walls. So will you do that? We have not started any work there yet. So go back and think about it. You've had a view. So we'll go back and take a look at it. So I will summarize what we said today. So we are just talking about the concepts. We have given them a lot of input. It seems that our inputs are more than their input. So I think they really have a much easier job to do than us. Now you have just talked about the links inside the area, and also how WKCD is connected to the 3 railway stations. And also we've talked about trams and how do people walk for 2 kilometers in the park. And for its external connectivity, I think we were told nothing. We spent more than 1 hour telling you a lot of views. I hope that the Transport Department and the WKCDA will sit together and discuss a comprehensive plan. How will you be connected to the CFT, to Yau Ma Tei, to Tai Kok Tsui, to Sham Shui Po, etc.? Or Well, can you give us a complete plan? We will have a beautiful waterfront promenade. So can we make use of trams? Can we take reference from the San Francisco trams, because it will become a tourist attraction? And also, Mr. Yu and the Vice Chairman have also mentioned this. Well, how can you add value to the harbor front? Can you turn it into a tourist attraction? And if you arrange for ferries to serve this area, can the ferries be turned into tourist attractions as well? Well, just now you said that if you build a pier in the typhoon shelter, will people take ferry to get there? Of course, nobody will use ferries nowadays. But if you look at the Venice example, then you can see that such ferries can be turned into tourist attractions as well, and it's easier for the audience to disperse after shows. So you should have a comprehensive plan, including land and water connections, and you should report to us on a regular basis. If you come up with a concept, come to report to us. And just now, several members also pointed out this point, that is, you seldom consult the residents living in the district. So through Mr. Wang, you should discuss with the OCs of the affected buildings in the vicinity. And also you should talk to the district council on a regular basis. Ms. Emily Lau suggested this. At least we should have a picture as to how you consult them. So members, did I miss any point? Well, you haven't mentioned MTLCL. You say that the WKCDA should talk to the Transport Department, but the Transport Department does not represent the MTLCL. Yes, okay, we should include MTLCL. Well, Chairman, that was a good summary, but I have a suggestion. Now, for the airports, now we are talking about the end of the runway. We've put forward a lot of suggestions, and now the plan can still be changed, including the helipad. So I think you should also ask the planning department to come attend the meeting. And Ms. Wong of the planning department also assured me that the connections of the WKCD would be very convenient. Just now, Ms. An Chuan asked a lot of questions. No matter whether it's the elements or the CFT, actually they are very close to the WKCD. You should try your best to connect them. I used to live at Tai Kushing, and there has been significant development, and because it's connected to the MTR, so that's why the property price has risen a lot. So I think this is outside the scope. That's why we think that the planning department should also send a representative here. So connectivity with the areas outside WKCD should also be considered. So you should have a comprehensive plan. So at the next meeting, I hope that you can give us a conceptual plan after incorporating our views. And I hope both the planning department and MTLCL will send their representatives.
And Dr. Helena Wong also said just now that we should pay a visit to the park, and we had the basin banquet, and now please arrange for a time for the visit. Any other views? Barrier-free access. We all expressed our concerns. Let's look at the cruise terminal. This is a new design. At the time, the disabled group told me that there were a lot of problems. But at that time, those officials in charge, not you, said that no modifications could be made. So please consult the disabled group and see what improvements can be made. Now, even the cruise terminal could go wrong. It was a new design, right? So consult the people with disabilities and review the problems with the cruise terminal and avoid history from repeating. All right, so, we have gone into much details. We've spent 2 hours on this item, and we are going into recess very soon. But we will not take a real break. After recess, we'll be meeting each other. Meeting's adjourned.